no good news, David. It's only bad news and irrelevant news.
Every cloud.
Brum brum, it's been a while. I'm sorry. I like to think that there's actually people to apologise to. In my little mind, there's actually people waiting by the Hard Zone podcast, door. They knock every week and to no avail, and they actually care. And maybe, I am speaking to a void, but it's hard to talk about news or things that have happened every week in a sport that's in its off season. There's not a lot of shit happening, so I've let it build up to actually make this worthwhile speaking about. And there's been a few things, mainly around McLaren. They dropped their livery, driver signed on, and backlash to comments. Not really backlash, but sort of conversation built up to comments he's made. This is, if you don't know, a subsection of Hards on the podcast. Hards on the podcast, like a fucking franchise, fucking feature film. Cloud Wine. It's kind of like a news kind of corner thing, and it's called Cloud Wine because it's news, usually good news, realistically, but in Formula One, probably because it's quite a British sort of European sport, and that sort of leads to miserable people. There is no such thing as good news, so it's Cloud Wine, as in whinge, not as in drink. The fact I need to explain that just show when you have to explain a name, that's when you know it's a great name. Yeah, shit. I just liked the logo I made for it, basically. But yeah, so the most boring thing has sort of been new tracks, crazily, and obviously, you always get people complaining when there's new tracks. For me, new tracks just mean something new, which ultimately is interesting for me, which is ultimately good news. There is no such thing as good news. So the first one, which one I care less about, because I'm not really, which I guess is kind of rare for an English person, but I ain't really that fussed about Spain. I'll be honest. Spain just doesn't really do it for me. So them having the track at Barcelona is Catalonia, I think, and now going to Madrid. I couldn't really care. Some football fans out there maybe do, big old Clasico there. But I mean, I like football, but what I mean is, I don't care about. I mean, the Spanish track Catalonia, it doesn't really do it for me. They tried to change the last thing. I think that helps. The last little corner, the little chicane. Hopefully, I use that word correctly. But yeah, no, I'm not really fast. I'm not sure even what the new. Here's everyone's favorite thing to do. Look at new track designs and go, that looks shit, that looks crap, it looks like and then say around, it looks like a bee trying to sting a human. Oh, it looks like a Ford Wrangler driving down the M25. Oh, this track looks like a beaver in mating season. Like, they just say, oh, this looks like this. Why does this corner go like that? Oh, this is crap. And this, you know what I mean? And it's just like, why the fuck do people... Like, I don't care if the track just looks like a big donut. If I'm going to wait till the weekend and let my opinions of it be decided on how qualifying and the race goes. I don't care what some neon squiggly lines look like on a Google Maps screenshot, But people get into it. The Chicago, though, Mamma mia! Now we're talking. This is a place that I'm more interested in. It would mean like a fourth Grand Prix. And look, in America, and I don't care where they are as long as they're cool destinations. I don't care if you have 9 in America, but I would go. I feel more. New York's the dream. Now it's a pipe dream. It's the dream though. So it's not that. But if I couldn't have told you what city in New York, if I had to pick one, I would want it to be, if it couldn't be New York. But hey, and I'll admit, yeah, I'm a fan of the Bear. I've been watching the Bear set in Chicago, but drove to Chicago, if you know, so like I kind of like having I like the city. I like the city. It's a cool city, and I just feel like it'd be a nice vibey track. People already posting pictures of the of the layout of Chicago, being like, "This makes no sense. How are you gonna have a track here?" And it's like, you're not business logistics men. You haven't got to worry about the logistics, the fucking payment schemes, the fucking how we're gonna have to pay off the road works that are happening on 42nd, or I don't know how they name streets, and you haven't got to worry about that. let them draw the lines and put the little lines here, and it's going to be this many corners, 7 to the left, 9 to the right. It's got an upwards gradation of 70. Don't worry. Just wait till race weekend and see if it's the best thing you've ever seen in your life. You know? That's what you got to do. That simple. You know, and it could very easily be boring and that, but it's just like a bunch of tracks in like, I don't know, the complaining thing. It's like okay, call me old-fashioned. You complain after the thing happens. You don't complain preemptively. You know, because you're setting yourself up to either just look stupid or just wasting your breath. Like, I like a good complaint, I like a good whinge, I like a good whine, but like, I'll do it. You know, I'll do it when the thing has happened, when it's shit. And look, I've watched a bunch of shit races, and you know what? A lot of them are just across these like historic European tracks and shit. I don't really care where the races are. I just want a nice spread over the globe. And yeah, look, Africa would be cool. You know, a lot of places would be cool. Don't know how possible some of them are. From what I'm thinking in my mind. But like, America's like a big place. You know, it's like, it's pretty large. I think it's fair enough if they have, you know, a few tracks in America. It's pretty big. So yeah, you know, not that crazy. And also, like, you get some cool different vibes, you know, from like East Coast to West Coast to, why am I trying to pretend like I even know what that means? But you know, so like Southern. You know, and I feel like they've got a good little spread going on. I think if it gets to a point where they've got like 6 tracks, 5 tracks, unless the 5th track is New York City, then, you know, then you got a problem. Maybe. And I think that, to be fair, I reckon there's a couple of tracks like, and also I think part of the problem is that Formula One seems obsessed with like, oh, we're gonna have a new track, great, but we're gonna immediately sign them up to this fucking 10-year deal. It's like, why can't we just do like a 3-5 year thing? Maybe just, you know, dunk our toe in instead of doing this whole like whole hog type thing. You know, but you know, that's what I would say, because it's like I would be happy to say goodbye to Miami now after like another year or two. We done it. It was whatever. You know, you keep Texas. You know, you keep I can't remember what the other one is in America. Honestly, I'd be happy to say to Vegas after a couple of years. Vegas just ain't really my thing. Never really does it for me. Yeah, but like Chicago just sounds cool. New York sounds cool. I don't know, St. Louis. I don't even know. Is that even a real place? Let's go there. Try that out. That could be a cool state. Where's that one where Princess and the Frog? Ooh, where she's eating that gumball. Where's that? I feel like that's a place with a lot of character. Detroit. Can we get some sticks up? You know, sort of draw some lines in the dirt. I would like to see a little track, little race go down in Detroit. That wasn't the place I was thinking of. I'm gonna have to bring up the states. USA states. The issue is Chicago, I think, is not even a state, right? It's like a city, and that's why things get confusing. Because, you know, it's hard to know. It's hard to know. Like, I think the place I'm thinking of is in like Louisiana or Mississippi or something. But I don't know. So it's a city, it's not a state, and that's gonna be harder to find. Let's say USA, Louisiana cities, city. New Orleans. Could you have a track in New Orleans? That sounds cool. Sounds like a place of cultural fun. I don't know. I ain't against it. So I've been seeing that. I mean, I'm dancing around the fact that the main thing to talk about is sort of McLaren stuff. But first, we'll get to that at the end, I guess. Visa Cash App Racing Bulls Formula One team. You know, that is like the audio. You know, with like Brazilian football kits, just sponsors are us. Like, yeah, Visa Cash App Racing Bulls Formula One team, and then they went, no. Don't worry, it's actually Visa Cash App RB Formula One teams. We're not going to actually say Racing Bulls every time. Did you think we were crazy? It's like, that's not the part that needs shortening. That's not the part we got to get out of there. The whole Visa Cash App part, which we've sort of Frankenstein stitched on the front end, That's where it's sounding a little bit dodgy. Not dodgy. It's not dodgy, but sounding a little bit, shit. Yeah, I don't know. It's a crap name. I'd argue it's not even a name. It's like Elon Musk's kid is called like XY7269, no scope or some shit. It's like, yeah, technically it's a name because that's the order of letters you put on their document. But it's like, I mean, yeah, it's a name because that's what you're going with. That's just an assortment of words. That's just random. That's mishmash, piggledy pog. I don't. So that's what they're going with. There's not much more to say than that, other than it's shit, and it can only be saved by a good livery, which some people have been claiming they might get. So I'm sure they'll be let down, as things always go. Leclerc re-signed to Ferrari. No one had a problem with that. He's staying with the Reds, which I don't have a problem with either. McLaren re-signed to Norris, which no one had. Oh wait, no, sorry, everyone had a problem with that one. Yeah, my bad. So yeah, people were saying Norris weak mentality because he's at McLaren, and there seemed to maybe have been an opportunity for him to go to Red Bull. He then said, going to Red Bull is stupid. Basically, it's not the smart thing to do to jump in the car with Max, who's like the best driver, one of the best drivers ever in Formula One. His team set up around him, been set up around him for the longest time. Just go in there and expect to beat him with that machinery. While he's also being one of the best now. Perez could have been in that car. And I'm sure people would be more happy to jump in with Perez. So obviously, there's a certain level of trepidation by the fact that it is Max, and everyone knows how good Max is. There's a difference between acknowledging that guy is like clearly goated at this sport, than straight up being afraid of him. People comparing it in ways that you can so easily knock down. It's just kind of like, come on guys, let's not be so lazy. For example, trying to be like George Russell didn't have to think twice about jumping into that Mercedes. It's like, do I even need to say the retort to that? Because it feels so obvious that it feels like you shouldn't have even have made the point, because it feels like the counter argument is just so right there. George Russell spent the last 3 fucking years of his life in a Williams. He may as well have been sitting next to me on the sofa because he had zero chance of doing anything. He did eventually get points and decent results that came purely based out of luck at times. And obviously, yeah, he was doing good stuff and he was putting in a good... Basically, though, he was in a Williams. He was in a Williams. He was in the worst car. He got the opportunity to go in Mercedes. I don't think he would care if he was going to be sitting next to, Hitler. Like, I don't think he cares who he was next to. The simple fact is, he could be in the car. And of course he's going to be like, yeah, I can beat Hamilton and this and that. It doesn't matter who was in the other seat. I was just in a Williams. I'll pay you to go sit in that seat type thing. I'll do it for free. It's like, it doesn't matter. People bringing up Leclerc didn't think twice about going against a world champion, going into a Ferrari. Was he not in an Alfa Romeo, the most irrelevant team on the grid? Like, maybe not always straight up the worst team like Williams, but they're irrelevant. No one wants to be in an Alfa Romeo or wherever he was. Yeah. Okay, it's Seb. I don't care. I'll sit in the Ferrari, thanks. It's like, whereas Norris is in a car that's pushing, that's making great progress to challenge. He's been there for a while. He's invested in the project. He's the leader of that team. He earned that. He's got a good structure around him. He knows the people. He's in a place now where he's confident in the feedback he gives to the car. He understands the car. Like, it is, everyone's spoken about the style of the Red Bull, and how Max is the best at driving that style. You could, it doesn't mean he's the best. Well, it seems to be, but it doesn't mean you're straight up the best driver just because you're the best at driving that style. But you're going to be the best driver in that car. But even if you get in that car 2-3 years, you then you get to grips with it, and you're like, actually, I can now take it to Max. I'm actually beating him a fair few amount of times, or whatever, in the same car. Who knows? Maybe the Red Bull car then had its point. It had its time in the sun, and now it's dropping out, and Mercedes are coming back to the forefront, or McLaren is now overtaking them. Like, I looked at someone like Carlos Sainz sometimes, and it seems like he always jumped teams at the right point. Like he wasn't like a Renault or whatever. Kind of seemed like he got out really good point. Went to McLaren. McLaren were on the up, doing good things. Was a really capable car. Left McLaren, went into a Ferrari. Ferrari were doing decent things in that car, and McLaren kind of like went down for a little bit. Kind of seemed like he was left the team at the right point. You don't want to be on the wrong bandwagon. You want to jump onto the right one and jump onto it early at the right point, right? You don't want to be going like, you see it happen sometimes at football teams. It's like, I want to join this team, this top 4 team. And then the second you leave, the team you just left goes on to win the league type thing. Like, how much of a kick in the teeth would it be if Tottenham did like won the league somehow the season after Harry Kane left? Like, your team's going like this. Like, imagine, you left, and in the time it took you to get to grips with that car, the team you left became a better car. It's not impossible. Like, that's not the craziest thing to think about. He's also like still young. He's only like a year older than Piastri, who's like the young gun, right? He's still young. It's like, if things don't work out in like 4 years, he can very easily go to what is straight up the best team on the grid. I just don't think it's that deep. I don't think it's that deep. Like, what's impressive about doing like the obvious on those macho thing, being like, I'll fucking spark him out. I'll take him for a fucking spin. Get me in that car. When like talented people have done the same thing and made themselves like a mug. All you do is drop the value of yourself, your own confidence. It's like, you don't need to be so brash and like fucking Disney villain over the top with it. Like, think it through. What's actually smart here? Like, to say he's afraid of Verstappen would suggest that he wouldn't want Piastri. Like, he would hate if Piastri left that McLaren seat and Verstappen came in and became his teammate while both being at McLaren. Like, I think most drivers will back themselves if they have the best car that they could win a championship, right? I don't think he'd be afraid if Verstappen was coming in to sit in the same seat with him in a McLaren. It's just a matter of circumstance and all this other shit. It just feels so obvious. It just feels like people who don't rate Norris, think he's very good, thinks he has a shit mentality, are going to jump on something like that and be like, this is some fucking weak, lame shit. Because it's just an easy thing to do. Who knows? We get into the season that McLaren's on fire. Oh, they don't look so dumb now. Or a year from now, 2 years from now. He's literally big fish in that pond. Like, he is the guy. He's the king there. You don't just throw that away. You nurture that for a little bit, I think. But yeah. That's been going on there. So that's kind of been the news. That's kind of been what's happening. I think it's pretty straightforward, to be honest. But we'll see how the season goes. We'll see how Perez goes against Max. We'll see how dominant now Red Bull is against all the other cars. And like, I just think this whole scared of Max thing is like dumb. I think there is like I don't think Leclerc, Russell, Hamilton, Norris, like all of these like top drivers, none of them are. I don't think any of them are scared of Max. Alonso, anyone else who's like obvious I should be mentioning who I haven't said yet. I don't think they're scared of Max. I think that's just crazy. I think everyone's gonna back themselves, and like especially and whether they're right or wrong. I think a lot of them not only would back themselves to go have a go. I mean, straight up think that equal machinery, I'm better type thing. I'm better. But yeah, that's all. Brum brum. Cloud wine, hands on, that's all. If there's enough stuff to go again next week, we will do so. Best believe I will be there. I will be there for sure. And when Drive to Survive comes, I will be there for sure. So yeah. Thank you. My nose is very itchy. No particular reason. And yeah.